you thought you were attacking me? No, I'm attacking you! Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, Title Update 2 is now up and running in Sunbreak in all of its glory, and oh man, is it a great time. I absolutely adore each of the new monsters that were added in this update. Every fight is just fantastic, fresh, and interesting, as well as providing a decent amount of challenge as well. Not to mention the new A6 anomaly monsters, which pack an absolute hell of a punch. But of course, with a new update comes new equipment, and with new equipment comes new builds. So let's take today to talk about a weapon that I've been falling in love with since the release of Sunbreak, the Sword and Shield. I know, I've made plenty of jokes at its expense in the past, but which of us haven't? If you haven't given it a proper go though, this is an incredibly fun weapon, especially with the way that it functions in this expansion, and of course today I'll be going over the new best build for Sword and Shield, by which I mean the one that quite simply deals the most damage possible. Of course, if you prefer a little bit more utility in your life, you can use this just as a template and switch some things around, but this build is all about pushing the limits of what numbers we can achieve with the weapon at hand, or in hand. My hands?
My hand?
Yeah.
And hopefully your hands too. Now, the last update was all about elemental and status builds, making them stronger and stronger to the point that most of the raw attack builds were just starting to feel left behind. But, well, this update has changed things. It gave us some new particularly efficient raw attack boosting armor pieces, as well as a brand new way to turn status itself into a raw attack boost, changing the way that we get to think about our raw builds entirely. That said, the new best sword and shield to use, the weapon itself, is the same one as it was in the base expansion of Sunbreak, which is the scorned Magnum Molo SNS. It has 330 raw, which is excellent as a base. It has a good amount of purple sharpness, a 3-slot and a 2-slot for decorations on the weapon, as well as a rampage 2-slot, which importantly lets us slot in the anti-wyvern jewel and its equivalents. As well, it has some blast status on top, which previously was just a nice little bonus, but now actually contributes to increasing the raw damage itself of the build that we are using. Also worth noting, the curio crafted augments of this weapon are all 3 levels of attack, filling your 6 slots. 4 plus 15 raw to make the weapon actually have 345 on itself. This is just the best way to use your augment slots now. Unfortunately, an affinity augment is 3 slots, so you can only do 1 attack augment with it, and then you just got 1 bonus slot. But simply, plus 15 raw is just worth more than plus 5 raw and 5% affinity, especially when this build actually overcaps on affinity at certain points due to how it is put together. As for your switch skills, your first 3 are all personal choice, but in the 4th slot, Metsu Shoryu Geki is a very clear winner, and the 5th slot is Shield Bash all the way, both as a gap closer and as an escape when necessary. So let's talk a little bit then about how this works and why this is an upgrade from what we had before this title update. Firstly, there are just some really efficient armor pieces that exist now, offering multiple ranks of particularly useful skills, as well as some nice decoration slots too. But we also have a slight change to the effectiveness of the skill Agitator. This skill was all over the place in Iceborne, the previous game, because you could force monsters to be enraged for the vast majority of hunts, making it nearly permanently active. But in Rise and Sunbreak, on an average hunt, a monster will be enraged for about 40% of the time that you spend hunting it, which brought the skill back down to being a bit more niche. However, a new skill on the Violet Mizutsune armor, Embolden, makes it so when the monster is targeting you with an attack, it builds up towards its enrage faster, and as a result, this increases the amount of time that a monster is enraged in a hunt, in solo hunts up to about 50%, or even higher if you're hunting without your buddies. As well, if you are using this in multiplayer, you can pair it with the Diversion 1-slot jewel, just for the sake of making it active a bit more often. But we are now counting Agitator as a whole in solo quests as being active 50% of the time if you have any ranks of Embolden, which is a small but notable difference to how good this is as a skill. On top of this, Risen Chameleos armor adds a new skill to the game called Build Up Boost, which increases the damage of any attack that applies status buildup. This is noticeable visibly anytime that a cloud of status puffs off of your weapon, and so this will activate on approximately 1/3 or 33.3% of all weapon hits. If you want every rank of it, it is quite the investment to make, but the first rank of this skill is easily achievable and worth a 10% increase to the attacks that build status, which we can translate to just being a 3.33%,
repeating of course,
overall raw damage upgrade on average throughout the hunt, which is quite tasty. Moving on then, the talisman that you want to make this build absolutely shine is anything worth +4. This is something like 3 critical eye and a 2-slot, 3 attack and a 2-slot, or any mix of 3 ranks of the skills that we slot in as decorations within the set with a 2-slot on top. My personal talisman is only a +3, being 2 attack, 2 quick sheath, and a 2 slot, and so I will be 1 skill lower than you would be with the correct talisman. The armor itself that we are using today then is the Lunagaron helmet, the Flaming Espinas chest piece, the Risen Chameleos gauntlets, and then the Violet Mizutsune waist and legs. In the slots available, we are going to be using 5 expert jewels, 3 critical jewels, 3 attack jewels, 1 tenderizer jewel, and then you'll have 2 free 1 slots to do with as you please. I recommend using one of these for Spearbird's Call, just for the convenience of the skill. The other one is sort of free for you to use, but you could probably use it for diversion if you're doing multiplayer hunts, or instead use it for something like stun resistance in solo hunts. With all of these decorations slotted in, your full skill list will be 7 attack boost, 7 critical eye, 3 agitator, 3 critical boost, 3 weakness exploit, 3 flinch free, 2 marathon runner, 2 offensive guard, though this is the one that will be 3 instead if you have a better talisman, and so for the math later I will be counting it as all 3 ranks. 2 quick sheath is from my personal talisman, 1 stun resistance from the spare 1 slot, 1 Chameleos blessing, 1 wirebug whisperer, 1 adrenaline rush, 1 embolden, 1 spearbird's call, 1 charge master, and 1 build up boost. It is sort of neat that we wind up with 1 rank of adrenaline rush in this as well, as it just sort of is a bonus. This increases your raw attack by 10 for 30 seconds after dodging through an attack, and as it so happens, the embolden skill that we also have 1 rank of gives you extra iframes on your roll when the monster is specifically targeting you. So these have a nice little synergy that actually allows us to have near 100% uptime depending on how you are playing. As for curio crafting and augments for your armor, the reason this build is sort of perfect offensively speaking is it leaves you exactly 5 skills short of a unstoppably complete build, which means that you can get 1 of each of those skills on each of your 5 armor pieces to round it off absolutely perfectly. That said, the skills that you are looking for are the final 2 ranks of agitator to finish off that skill, and then all 3 ranks of chain crit, or burst as it is now called. Also worth noting, if you happen to get critical eye, attack boost, weakness exploit, or crit boost on any of these pieces as curio crafts, you can just take out one of your decorations and slot those other skills in the same slot instead. As a result, the full build when augments are complete is actually 5 agitator and 3 burst as well. That said, let's do the math of it all, specifically the version with no curio crafting skills added on. The weapon itself has 345 raw once it is augmented, plus 10 for attack boost, plus 10 for adrenaline rush, and then agitator rank 3 is plus 12 raw, but we're counting the monsters being erased for 50% of the quest, so we are counting agitator's stats as 50% value, so only plus 6 for agitator, which makes 371. Then we work in our multipliers, times 1.1 for attack boost, times 1.033 repeating for build-up boost being active on 1/3 of our attacks, times 1.15 for offensive guard, which will be active the vast majority of the quest, with SNS thanks to Metsu Shoryugeki and Shield Bash working in tandem, times 1.39 for purple sharpness on the weapon, and then finally counting agitator at 50% value, we have 93.5% affinity with full crit boost, which is times 1.374 to our overall damage for a complete effective raw of 926.2. Yeah, you heard that right. We have finally breached the 900 marker to reach some absolutely nasty builds. Of course, if you're interested, if you get all of the perfect curio crafts on your armor like I mentioned earlier, and instead have 5 agitator and 3 burst, the math instead works out as such. With additives, you reach all the way up to 390, and then with the multipliers in consideration, we get a whopping number of 984.97, almost reaching 4 digits there.
It's over 9,000! What?
As I mentioned earlier, both when it comes to curio crafting and the decorations themselves, you can of course opt out of pure offensive skills and instead slot in some ability for extra evasion or defense. For this combination of skills and this combination of armor pieces is what you require for an absolutely perfect 100% offensive build for the sword and shield, and well, if you do so, it absolutely kicks ass on hunts. I hope you all give this build a chance and feel how strong it is actually for yourself, and I wish you all the best of luck in your title update to hunts, be they with sword and shield or otherwise, and I hope you look forward to all manner of other builds that we will be releasing here on the channel in the near future. Like if you like the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.